Arlington National Cemetery, a place of solemn honor. Today, it prepared for a four-star general's farewell. But an old man in a faded uniform and a peculiar, tattered leather jacket stood at its gates, a single white flower in his hand. He wasn't on any list. He had no invitation. Security saw a relic. Protocol saw an obstacle. What they didn't see, what no one knew, was the invisible debt that had drawn him there. A debt forged in fire. A secret buried for over half a century. Why would a hero's funeral be unknowingly guarded against its truest mourner? The autumn wind swept across Arlington's hallowed grounds, a mournful sigh through endless rows of white marble, carrying the scent of damp earth and fallen leaves. Long before the honor guard marched or taps sounded, a lone figure arrived, a pre-dawn ghost in the chill. Samuel Miller, 80 years etched onto his lean frame, stepped stiffly from a long hall bus miles from the main entrance. In one hand, a simple canvas bag. In the other, a single, stark white chrysanthemum. He journeyed 2 days from a forgotten fold in the Appalachians, where mountains kept secrets. His uniform, clean but ancient, spoke of wars long past. Over it, the peculiar, hand-stitched bomber jacket, leather cracked, faded. An odd patch near the shoulder drew pre-dawn gazes, an anomaly against the expected pageantry. He paid no mind. His pale blue eyes, clouded by age yet holding a distant focus, were fixed on Arlington's imposing gates, still a hard mile's walk away. Each step was deliberate, the final cadence of a lifelong pilgrimage to a moment both dreaded and yearned for. To any observer, just an old man, tired, come to say goodbye. Or so it seemed. The mile felt longer than all the intervening years. Finally, Samuel Miller stood before Arlington's main gate, a threshold to the bivouac of heroes. Security was tight for General Peterson's funeral. Young men in crisp uniforms manned checkpoints as limousines glided past, their occupants bearing official sorrow and gilded invitations. Sam approached an officer, a sergeant no older than his grandson. The sergeant's gaze sharpened, taking in Sam's ancient uniform, the unconventional jacket, the lines on his face, and the chrysanthemum held with gentle reverence. Silence hung between them, broken only by the wind. "Good morning, sir," the sergeant said, voice polite but cautious. "Restricted area for General Peterson's private service. Are you on the guest list? Or do you have credentials?" Sam met the sergeant's eyes.
"No, son.
"No credentials. I just came to pay respects. Knew him. Long ago. An old friend." His voice was a raspy whisper. The sergeant's expression flickered with sympathy, then firmed. He glanced at a clipboard, his eyes lingering again on the worn jacket. "I understand, sir, but strict orders. Only authorized personnel and those on the manifest are permitted." "Is your name Miller? Samuel Miller?" He scanned his list. "No, not here. Truly sorry, sir. Without authorization, I can't let you pass." No anger creased Sam's face, no protest. He'd expected as much. The world had its rules. He offered a slow nod. "I understand, Sergeant. Thank you." He didn't argue, didn't try to explain the bond that pulled him across a country. He turned, shoulders a little more stooped, and found a spot by the cold stone perimeter wall. There he stood, a solitary sentinel, chrysanthemum in hand, gazing at the ceremony unfolding within flags, gleaming instruments, a somber elite. An outsider, a forgotten echo, while inside, a hero was laid to rest. Unaware the man who once saved him was now held at bay. The sun climbed, casting pale light on the proceedings. Dignitaries arrived in hushed convoys. Samuel Miller remained by the wall, a statue of patient endurance. The distant strains of a mournful brass ensemble drifted over, a symphony for the invited, yet reaching him. He watched with quiet acceptance, his purpose intact. Inside, near the flag-draped dais, Major Eva Rostova, aide to General David Harrison, moved with quiet efficiency. Her sharp eyes scanned the periphery, ensuring every detail was perfect. General Harrison was a key figure, and she left nothing to chance. Her gaze swept past decorated officers, grieving family, towards the outer boundary, a routine security check. And then she saw him, a flicker against gray stone, an anomaly. An old man, alone, shoulders hunched, holding a white flower. Not his solitude, nor his archaic uniform, but the jacket, that battered, strangely patched leather bomber jacket. Incongruous, defiant in its history, something about its wear, perhaps a half-forgotten story General Harrison once recounted from early service with Peterson. A desperate fight, unique field gear, snagged her memory. She paused, frowning thoughtfully. More than an old jacket, it felt like a symbol, a forgotten password. Her gaze locked onto him, intense curiosity, or perhaps dawning, unbelievable recognition, pulling taut. Major Rostova's instincts, honed by years of service, told her this was no coincidence. The old man, the jacket, his unwavering vigil. It pointed to something too significant to ignore. Excusing herself, she moved with discreet urgency towards General Harrison, seated in the front row, somber, preparing his eulogy for General Peterson. She leaned in, her voice a low murmur. "General, forgive the interruption." A man at the main gate, elderly, old uniform, and a very specific leather jacket, sir. The one you described from Hill 303. Sir, I believe it might be Samuel Miller. The name, spoken softly, landed like a blow. General Harrison, known for iron composure, visibly started. His head snapped up, grief in his eyes replaced by a sudden, intense spark of disbelief, of wild hope. He looked at Rostova. Could it be? She gave a minute-certain nod. Harrison's gaze shot towards the distant main gate. And then he saw him, a stooped silhouette, the unmistakable outline of that jacket. A shape seared into his memory from a night of fire and ice when young Samuel Miller had been a figure of impossible courage. Emotions flooded the general's face, disbelief, dawning, painful recognition, then unshakable, fierce resolve. The planned ceremony, eulogies, dignitaries, all receded. He raised a hand, a decisive gesture to the master of ceremonies, who paused, confused. The solemn music faltered into uncertain silence. General Harrison rose to his full height. He ignored the astonished faces, offered no explanation. Adjusting his uniform, jaw set, he began to walk, not towards the dais, but away from the ceremony's heart. His long, determined strides carrying him directly, unstoppably, towards the main gate, towards the lone, unsuspecting figure. The crowd remained in stunned silence as General Harrison reached the main gate. Samuel Miller, still by the wall, watched the approaching four-star general with dazed bewilderment. He hadn't imagined he could be the cause of the halted ceremony. Then General Harrison stood before him. For a moment, neither spoke. Harrison's eyes, filled with profound emotion, searched Sam's aged face. Then, in full view of press, military elite, and grieving family, General David Harrison snapped to attention, raising his hand in a salute so sharp, so respectful, it resonated with the weight of decades. A salute of honor, for equals, for heroes. Sergeant Samuel Miller, General Harrison's voice, thick with emotion, carried clearly. "We've been waiting for you. Mike has been waiting for you."
Sam blinked, struggling to comprehend.
"General, I don't understand. You are Samuel Miller," Harrison interrupted gently but firmly. "And no one else General Peterson would rather have here." He gestured. Major Rostova stepped forward, holding a polished oak box, the urn with General Peterson's ashes. General Harrison took the urn. "Mike, General Peterson left specific instructions. Sam, if you were here." Harrison paused, voice catching. "He wanted you, the man from Hill 303, the man who gave him this very jacket when Mike was freezing." He lightly touched Sam's battered jacket, illuminating its significance. "He wanted you to carry him to his final rest." His words were, "Only Sam can bring me home." He extended the oak box. Sam's gnarled hands trembled as he reached out. The white chrysanthemum fell, unnoticed. His fingers brushed the smooth wood. A lifetime of memories flooded his eyes. He looked at the urn, then Harrison, lips moving, no words. The weight he held was more than ashes. It was indebted life, a friendship transcending time, rank, death. As Samuel Miller's fingers closed around the urn, Arlington dissolved, replaced by the biting cold of a Korean winter. 70 years passed. Hill 303, December 1951. An unnamed, snow-blasted ridge. His Green Rifle Company, pushed too far, caught in a vicious counterattack. Artillery rained down, communications out, cut off, pinned down in a shallow foxhole. 2 young lieutenants, Peterson and Harrison. Peterson shivered uncontrollably. A shrapnel wound in his leg, face pale with shock, hypothermia setting in. Harrison, arm wounded, returned fire, M1 stiffening in the sub-zero cold, trying to keep Peterson conscious. Surrounded, ammunition dwindling, hope fading. Then, through swirling snow and battle smoke, a figure emerged, low-crawling. Private Samuel Miller, barely 19, wiry, eyes burning with cold fire. Unordered. He just came. He'd seen his officers down. He moved with eerie calm, zigzagging between machine gun bursts. Reaching them, he tossed his last 2 smoke grenades. Under its cover, he slid in. "Lieutenants, we gotta move. Now." Peterson, teeth chattering, gasped. "Can't. Legs gone, Miller. Too cold." His standard bomber jacket offered little protection. Without a word, Miller, in his thin field shirt, shrugged off his own newer, warmer bomber jacket and wrapped it around Peterson. "This'll help, sir. You ain't dying on my watch." That jacket, given in selfless instinct, was the one Samuel Miller wore today. Getting them out was another matter. Enemy closing in. Harrison laid covering fire. Miller saw their only chance. A narrow gully downslope across exposed ground, and Corporal Jenkins further down, wounded, unable to move. "Sir," Miller told Harrison, "get Lieutenant Peterson to that gully. I'll get Jenkins. Then I'll cover you all." A death sentence. Before Harrison could argue, Miller scrambled towards Jenkins, bullets kicking dirt. He reached Jenkins, a bigger man, and somehow began dragging him, firing his rifle one-handed. To buy seconds, Miller made a desperate move. Spotting a deadly enemy machine gun nest low on grenades, he charged it at an angle, drawing fire. Then, with an acrobatic dive, he triggered a discarded enemy tripwire connected to a small, unexploded mortar round at the edge of their emplacement. The blast silenced that gun, sowed confusion, gave Harrison the window to drag Peterson to safety. Audacious, brutal improvisation, born of desperation. He then held the gully access alone, 1 rifle against overwhelming odds, until the last wounded were clear. Found hours later by reinforcements, he was slumped against a rock, out of ammunition, bleeding, half-frozen, but alive. Because of him, so were Peterson, Harrison, Jenkins, and others. He never spoke of it, never asked for thanks, just did what had to be done. The roar of battle faded, the Korean wind receded. Samuel Miller stood again under Arlington's autumn sun, urn cool beneath trembling fingers, the weight of history of a life saved. General Harrison stood beside him. "Come, Sergeant," he said softly. "Let's take Mike home." The iron gates, once a barrier, swung wide. As Sam, flanked by the general, stepped onto hallowed ground, a ripple went through the crowd. A murmur, then something extraordinary. Officers, colonels, majors, captains rose. Old veterans struggled upright. As Sam walked towards the dais, they saluted. Not with parade precision, but spontaneous, heartfelt reverence. They didn't know his name, his story, but they saw a 4-star general honoring him, saw the ashes, and understood. Yet, amidst this honor, a discordant note. Lance Corporal Davis, a young Marine in the honor cordon, leaned to his neighbor. His whisper, low but sharp with youthful cynicism, Look at this. Another old-timer looking for glory. Huh? Got some tall tales. His companion elbowed him, but the words, unheard by Sam, hung briefly. Major Rostova, walking behind, registered the exchange, lips tightening. Samuel Miller walked on, oblivious, gaze fixed on the urn, step slow but steady. Not for salutes, undeterred by unheard whispers. Walking for a friend, fulfilling a silent promise. A 70-year journey nearing its end. Samuel Miller reached the ceremonial dais, urn in hand. General Harrison guided him to a place of honor beside the podium. The assembly, and the nation watching, waited with bated breath. Shock had given way to reverent curiosity. General Harrison stepped to the microphone, surveyed the silent crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, voice resonating. "Today's proceedings have taken an unexpected turn. Funerals, especially for men like General Peterson, are typically moments of solemn, ordered remembrance. But life and death are not always so orderly. Some debts of honor transcend protocol, transcend time." He paused, indicating Samuel Miller, who sat quietly, eyes downcast, urn on his lap. "With us today is Sergeant Samuel Miller, United States Army, retired. Some may wonder why this humble man is at the forefront. The reason is simple yet profound. Were it not for the courage and sacrifice of then-Private Samuel Miller on a frozen ridge in Korea, December 1951, Hill 303, neither I, nor General Mike Peterson, would have lived to see another dawn." A murmur of understanding swept the crowd. Lance Corporal Davis shifted uncomfortably, cynicism replaced by dawning awe. General Harrison continued, painting a vivid picture. He spoke of being cut off, wounded, with Peterson freezing. "And into that hell," Harrison said, voice thick with memory, "came Private Miller, unasked, unordered. He reached us under a hail of fire. Seeing Lieutenant Peterson freezing, this young man stripped off his own new, warm bomber jacket, the very jacket he wears today, preserved for 70 years, and wrapped it around his dying officer, likely saving his life from cold alone. But he did more. He dragged Corporal Jenkins to partial safety. With unbelievable audacity, he neutralized an enemy machine gun using their own booby-trapped ordnance. And finally, he held the line, alone, allowing the wounded to be evacuated. He fought until out of bullets, until he collapsed. A private, but that day a giant. Harrison's gaze swept the crowd. General Peterson never forgot that night, never forgot the young man who saved him. For 70 years, Mike carried that gratitude. His final wish, if Sergeant Miller could be found, he, only he, should carry him on this last journey. He looked towards younger service members. Some might dismiss such events as old stories, but these are not just stories. They are foundations of our present peace, our freedoms, testaments to courage, the selfless spirit defining the best of us, in any generation. The uniform may change, battlefields shift, but the heart of the American soldier, embodied in Sergeant Miller, remains constant. He turned to Sam. "Sergeant Miller, on behalf of General Peterson, a grateful nation, and every man and woman who understands sacrifice, thank you. For your service, your courage, for being the man you are." As Harrison stepped back, silence, then a single clap, then another, until Arlington erupted in thunderous, heartfelt applause. All on their feet, faces towards the unassuming old man, who struggled to hold back tears. He sought no recognition, but today recognition found him. The final rifle volleys echoed, taps faded, the folded flag presented to General Peterson's widow. The official ceremony ended. Dignitaries, press, crowd dispersed, leaving graveside sanctity. But Samuel Miller remained. Long after the last car departed, he stood alone before the new earth holding his friend. The urn committed, but for Sam, farewell was incomplete. From his canvas bag he drew a small, smooth stone from an Appalachian creek, where he and young Mike had talked of fishing trips never made. He knelt, stiffly, pressed the stone into the soil. A personal token, a silent conversation. He stayed long, lost in memories, wind whispering. General Harrison approached quietly. He too had lingered. "Sam," Harrison said softly, holding an aged, yellowed envelope. "Mike left this. For you. Given to me years ago. To be given only if you came here to say goodbye in person." Sam took the fragile, crackling paper. Slowly he opened it. Inside, General Peterson's firm handwriting, perhaps a little shakier. As Sam read, it was as if Mike spoke one last time. Narrator, as Peterson's thoughts from the letter. "Sam, my oldest friend, my truest brother. If you're reading this, you made it. Always knew you would. Stubborn. Thank you, Sam, for everything. Not just Hill 303, not just my life, Dave's, Jenkins, the others. Thank you for carrying the weight of what we had to do. That terrible choice with young Private Evans. Leaving him, knowing we couldn't save them all. You understood when no one else could. That some battles are lost to win a war. Some souls commended to God so others might live. You never judged. You just understood. You carried that with me in silence all these years. That, more than anything, was a gift. You let me live a full life, Sam, haunted though it was. If there's justice, perhaps one day our names will be spoken together not as general and sergeant, but simply as friends who faced fire and walked out, changed, but together in spirit. Rest easy. You were the best of us. Your brother, Mike." Samuel Miller's hand lowered. His shoulders, for a moment, bore greater weight, then seemed lighter. He carefully folded the precious letter, slipped it inside his battered jacket, close to his heart. He looked over Arlington's white headstones. No words. The dead acknowledged, the shared burden named. Perhaps peace settled over them both. 1 year later, Arlington's crisp autumn had yielded to Virginia's spring promise. The legacy of that day, of the quiet sentinel and the general who remembered, had blossomed. Today, the dedication of the Peterson Miller Legacy Center, Healing Generations. Funded by Peterson's Foundation, supported by Harrison, it wasn't just brick and mortar. A sanctuary, a place of connection, renewal. Its unique mission: bridge generational divides among service members, support veterans with visible and invisible wounds, and crucially, their families. Inside, older veterans shared wisdom with younger soldiers from recent conflicts. Counseling, vocational training, spaces for listening, understanding, finding common ground. Among dedicated volunteers, a familiar face changed. Lance Corporal Davis, no longer cynical, moved with newfound maturity, gentle purpose. Often in the rec room, patiently listening to older veterans, helping with technology. His earlier arrogance replaced by quiet respect, a genuine desire to serve. That day at Arlington, Harrison's words, Miller's dignity, had profoundly impacted him. One of the center's first, unspoken successes. The dedication was underway. Speeches, ribbons. But Samuel Miller, whose name was etched with Peterson's above the entrance, wasn't on the dais. He stood quietly offside, near a new oak tree, holding a fresh white chrysanthemum. He watched with a gentle, distant smile, seeking no spotlight, a silent observer of good grown from sorrow and remembrance. General Harrison, after a moving address, found him. They stood side by side, watching families explore the facility. "They came, Sam," Harrison said quietly, satisfied. "Just as you hoped. Just as Mike would have wanted." Sam nodded, gaze drifting to children laughing in the therapy garden. "Good place, General. Mike would have liked it. Place for healing, finding their way back." "Your place too, Sam," Harrison reminded gently. "Your legacy as much as his." Sam smiled, a humble, fleeting expression, looking at the chrysanthemum. No further words needed. As the sun dipped, Samuel Miller prepared to leave, quietly as he'd arrived. He'd return to his mountains, his simple life, carrying memories, leaving a living testament to the human spirit.
No perads, no aquelads.
The knowledge of this healing place, connections forged, burdens shared, was reward enough. The The story of Samuel Miller and General Peterson reminds us true heroism often wears no uniform, seeks no spotlight. It resides in quiet courage, enduring loyalty, humility expecting no reward. It teaches that profound legacies aren't always stone monuments, but lives touched, healing fostered, connections built across time and experience. Each of us has capacity for such quiet heroism, power to make a difference unseen, to be a sentinel for kindness and understanding. Sometimes, all it takes is one person to remember, one to speak up, one to stop, and truly see the forgotten hero standing silently in shadows, waiting not for glory, but simply for a chance to bring a friend home.